Hi guys, I'm Rex King. Welcome back to another episode of From the Archive, and today we're taking a look at the 1939 Tower of London. So, the 1939 version of Tower of London was directed by Roland Lee and was actually written by his brother Robert Lee. And they basically came up with this idea after a trip to London and decided they wanted to cover one of the darker periods in the United Kingdom's history, which is where they got the idea for doing this film. The movie was released on November 17th, 1939, after a lot of struggle, really, mainly to do with weather and the battle sequences that they were trying to do with the movie. Uh, like several extras got heat stroke, the rain was destroying the cardboard helmets that they were using for the film, and honestly, the movie was ended up being like apparently $800,000 over budget. I do not know how well it did at the box office. There aren't any exact numbers for this film, but critically, it apparently did all right. So, where does it stand today? Well, let's talk about it. So, Tower of London follows Richard of Gloucester as he plots and schemes his way through the English aristocracy to basically become king. He's trying to get from sixth in line in the throne to being on the throne. So he has to work his way through a lot of people with the assistance of Mord, the executioner in the Tower of London. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting film, honestly. Now, the Richard is played by Basil Rathbone, and Mord's played by Boris Karloff, and they are honestly the highlights of this movie. Their performances are absolutely spectacular. They are whenever they're on screen, you're immediately drawn to whatever they're saying and doing. Especially Basil Rathbone as Richard. I really liked how devious he was, how cunning he was, while also being genuinely charming at times. It's quite easy to see how he managed to work his way through to becoming King of England without anyone really suspecting him and really easily getting away with a lot of what he got away with. Um, and like this film's cast is spectacular. You have Vincent Price as well in this film as a kind of minor role as Clarence, one of Richard's brothers, and he's someone who Richard has to get through. And they have a really fun drinking scene between Basil Rathbone and Vincent Price, which apparently was completely improv on the spot, and it's a really cool and fun scene. And a lot of the scenes are really well put together. I really love the sets in this film. I really love the battles. I thought they were really well composed, and you really get a sense of the scope of this movie. Now, if I did have to list a couple complaints, it would probably have to do with the way the film was edited at times. Like certain scenes will immediately jump to the next scene without any like transition or any warning, and it feels kind of jarring at times. There are also a lot of very short, like 2 second scenes in this film that honestly could have been cut altogether and just like avoided. I'm not really sure why they're in here. It again makes the film really feel jarring at times. Uh, Now, a lot of you are probably hearing the names Boris Karloff and Vincent Price and going like, "This has got to be a horror movie." It's not. Yeah, you can find this movie in horror collections and horror classic collections and even the Boris Karloff collection. And a lot of people, for that reason, think this film is a horror movie and go into it expecting a horror movie. It's a period piece. It is not a horror movie. It is just about this one guy scheming to become king, and it has nothing that I would consider horror in it. Now, there are a lot of horrific events that happen, and there are a lot of murders and killings, but they're not presented in a horrific way. Uh, the music in this film is also a little weird. So they actually had a more period-oriented score made for this movie, but Universal didn't like it, so they decided to use Frank Skinner's score from The Son of Frankenstein in this film, and at times it does feel out of place. As you know, Son of Frankenstein was a monster movie, and this is not a monster movie, so I'm not sure why they didn't just go with the more period-oriented music. Oh well, I'm not a studio, so I don't really understand these decisions sometimes. At the end of the day, though, Tower of London was honestly a surprise for me. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, and I had a really good time seeing these brilliant actors play these really well written characters. And I really wasn't expecting that. At the end of the day, I think it's worth the watch. Now, do you go out and buy it, or do you stream it, or do you just avoid it altogether? Normally, I would say this film is a stream, as it's definitely not going to be for everyone, especially those who are looking for more horror-oriented content from these specific actors. But the problem is it's not available on streaming. Again, you can rent and buy it on Amazon, but at that point, you might as well just buy the movie. So, should you buy the movie? Yes, but don't do what I did and just buy the single movie by itself. It's a good film, but honestly, if you're looking for something like this, you might want to just buy it in one of its collections. I mean, the monster movie collection that this film is in is really cool and has a lot of fun stuff in it. And the Boris Karloff collection is one of the most legendary collections of all times. So yeah, you probably want to go for one of those two versions of this film. I don't usually buy collections, and when I'm reviewing a movie, I try to make sure I'm reviewing it on its own. So yeah, at the end of the day, if you're interested in these actors, definitely check out this film. If you're not interested in these actors and you don't really like older films, I got nothing here for you, because this film is really meant for a specific niche audience, I think, nowadays. Anyway, that's my opinion on Tower of London. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. And next time, we're taking a look at The Unforgiven. See you then!